Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of the AFC East Shakedown, a little AFC East roundtable. I am Zach, joined by Ben, covering the Patriots with me, joined by Anthony, covering the New York Jets, Captain D, covering the Miami Dolphins, and Tommy, covering the Buffalo Bills. We're going to jump right into it with a little recap of week 1. We're going to go worst to first in order of the AFC East. So, Anthony, go ahead. How's that 0-1 feel?
Oh,
Oh my god. Oh, 0-1 is like just getting too old for us, unfortunately. I was super pumped, super hyped about what this team could be, obviously. Bad start to the season. But the good thing is we don't have to play the 49ers again until hopefully in February. That's our wish and dreams. But yeah, that was a wake up call for sure. That was just an awful way to start the season. Um, Absolutely getting beat down the run game. It was a complete and utter disaster from a defensive standpoint. If you would have told me Jets were getting up 30 points, which Zach, got to give you props, you did have in your prediction the Jets giving up 30 points. And I kind of looked at you with a funny face on that whole thing, and you nailed it. But it was a big shock to me, big shock to many, but not to you, Zach. And it's just big alarming. We got a game this week against Tennessee and got to handle that run game, get it under control. But just absolute disaster for opening week. But they came out with rust. It was obviously apparent. Rodgers took a little time to get acclimated. Once he did, though, you started seeing a little bit of what we were hoping to see from him. Things started to settle down for him, and hopefully week 2 we get a little bit more of that old Rodgers where he can actually sustain those drives, and his defense get their asses off the field a lot sooner than what was happening last week.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed by Rodgers once he was able to heat up, I guess, as we should be. It's Aaron Rodgers, but definitely a rough showing for the Jets week 1. Going on to the Dolphins game week 1. Captain D, let's hear it.
Week 1, it was a rough outing. The game was very, very close after the first half. And to be honest, if it wasn't for Javon Holland punching that ball through on ATN, I mean, this ball game could be completely different than what the outcome was. So shout out Javon Holland. It's going to be a contract. It's a contract year this year. Those are the type of plays that need to be made. And it was a difference maker because on the next play, we strike to Tua for 80-yard touchdown, and the game kind of changed. The defense did step it up in the second half, made some plays, got after Trevor Lawrence. But it wasn't what I expected. My initial prediction was, I believe it was 31-17. I got the 17 right, but the Dolphin offense was stalling in the first half. But it was closer than I wanted it to be. But a win is a win.
Yeah, Tommy, what do you think about that Dolphins game?
first, I'm gonna. So we'll back up for the Jets game. Bro, Anthony, the Jets, man. Why? What happened, bro? I gotta ask you too. No McCaffrey, which was, by the way, killed me. No McCaffrey, right? Like, especially on my fantasy football. But man, what happened to the defensive line and stopping their run? Because backup running back, I expected better from. I'll be honest with you, I expected better from at least the defensive side of things. I thought the Jets' offense would start slow, just because of the rust for Aaron Rodgers and played a couple years. Like, I get that part. And which it did. It kind of started a little slow, but I thought your defense kind of I don't know. I didn't see. What happened to the line? Yeah, it just seemed like they kind of fell apart there against the run.
Well, my hopeful answer is that we played the 49ers, who have a top-tier offensive line in the league.
Yeah.
But that's no excuse, obviously. There's good offensive lines throughout the league, not as good as the 49ers. So this Jets defense has been predicated on being one of the top defense in the league. A big thing I stood behind was, we don't need Rodgers to be MVP Rodgers. We need him just to be good Rodgers, and everything will be fine. Obviously, that was under the understanding that this defense would keep rolling the way it has the last 2 years. Starting the season off with a getting smashed in the mouth the way that they did was just unacceptable. As far as like why the reason is, I mean, the Jets kind of took a transition this offseason. A lot of the upgrades kind of went to the offensive side of the ball, and some of those defensive players, those the John Franklin Myers who got traded, he was a big impact player in the run game, and we lost him as a result of the Hassan Reddick trade. Had to kind of allocate those resources to Reddick, which obviously we all understand what's going on with that situation right now. And then enter Quentin Jefferson and Al Woods leaving. Those guys were big-time players in the run as well. So the Jets have kind of moved up, from what they had last year to this year. And someone needs to step up. They brought in Javon Kinlaw, hoping that he can be an impact player in the run game too. Michael Clemens, he's in his third year. He needs to step up too. Like, it's just you reach that point where you let the good players go, and then those draft players that you brought in that showed some promise, eventually those guys need to develop and stand up. And in week one, that just was not the case.
Gotcha. Just real quick, I don't mean to cut you off or Zach. Anyone around the room too, because we're gonna go around the room. We kind of missed that part. That was on me. Anyone around the room has anything on that Jets game that they want to talk about? Bring up Captain D. Anybody?
Yeah. I thought I liked what the Jets were doing in the beginning of the game. I liked what I was seeing. Aaron Rodgers was making some plays. Yes, there was an interception, but I liked what they were doing. I think it was a tough game on the road. Aaron Rodgers coming back from that Achilles to go against the San Francisco 49ers. But I liked what they were doing. This is one game, but yes, they didn't win the game. But I like some things that I saw with the Jets in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with what I saw out of the offense. Just being able to operate. Obviously, like to see them get more plays in and stuff like that. I fully anticipated there to be a little bit of rust from Rodgers, and this offense would take time to get it going. But this defense was just utter disaster in this game. 8 scoring drives in a row. That's unacceptable. You're going to lose every game if you allow 8 consecutive scoring drives. Not many situations where you come out with a victory there.
And Anthony, I know it's a little bit tough to determine because obviously it was the San Francisco 49ers, just a roster loaded with talent. But from the issues that you saw with this Jets defense last Monday, do you think that most of those issues will be resolved or will be, I guess, easy to resolve? Or are there more glaring issues that you think might be reoccurring throughout the season?
The thing that has me a little optimistic. I'm happier that the issues we saw were on the defense side of the ball than the offense side of the ball. I have a little bit more faith with this defensive coaching staff to be able to identify what went wrong and figure out what can be fixed. If this was an offensive disaster, I think that with the coaching staff that's there, Hackett, and everything we saw last year, it would be a little bit more red flags in my eyes. But we have a big test against Tennessee. Brian Callahan, Bill Callahan, who offensive line guru, he's watching the film. He's watching exactly what the 49ers did, and they're going to try and implement a game plan similar to that, obviously in their own way. So I think it's a big test to see, Zach, to answer your question, like whether or not this defense got the smack in the mouth that they needed, and if that's going to be a wake-up call for them to really turn that page and get back to what we expected them to be.
For sure. Now, and if anyone else has any questions about the Dolphins or any analysis, or not Dolphins, excuse me, about the Jets, any questions about that or any analysis regarding that game, now's the time. If not, we'll move back to the Dolphins.
I got nothing. I got nothing else to say, but Ruff's never good to start with an L, but it's a long season. As Captain D said, it's a marathon. So I wouldn't be totally alarmed yet if you're a Jets fan. So yeah, but that's about it for me on the Jets. Yeah,
that's the toughest game they'll play all year. Toughest opponent. Let's hope we turn the page this week and get it going.
Toughest opponent.
Yeah, did you forget?
I don't know about that.
We don't play the Chiefs this year, so I mean.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, man.
I mean, no.
Boy, somebody just already counting the Bills out already.
No, I'm not disrespecting.
Oh
the Bills
my gosh, disrespect in here.
No, that's not
all right, go
disrespect.
ahead.
Let's give the 49ers their props. They were in the Super Bowl last year. Let's all be real. I mean, if you look at the calendar, you say, what's the toughest team the Jets have to play? That Week 1 game is probably the one you look at.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, going back to that Dolphins game, Anthony, let's hear it. What do you have about the Dolphins?
So I think Cap D touched on it pretty well. I expected it to be kind of a them running up the score on the Jaguars. Didn't really have much faith in the Jaguars. I was very shocked early on, especially with the Bills game too, with these scores kind of being lopsided in the opposite direction. I was excited a little bit, so what was out there. But eventually, I could almost guarantee you once that fumble happened, I was like, all right, this is the turning point. At some point, Tua's going to hit Tyreek for a long play. They're going to get range, score a touchdown, and this is going to be a game again. Didn't think it was going to be the exact next play. A 14-point swing in the span of 2 plays. That was a huge win. Javon Holland, as you mentioned earlier, with the big punch out. But the Dolphins did what they had to do. Came out a little rusty. That rust obviously kind of seemed to drag into the next week as well. But getting wins Week 1 is always one of the toughest weeks to get a victory because you just don't know what to expect out of the team you're going up against. So I think there was some surprise there for the Dolphins out of what we saw out of Brian Thomas making a few nice catches and eventually a touchdown. Didn't really know what to expect out of him, but Dolphins did what they had to do. Got that turnover and turned the game around. That defense stepped up down the stretch as well.
Real quick, I do want to point our attention to that question from Roy on the screen. Anthony, how are you feeling about Robert Saleh as the New York Jets head coach?
So yeah, I mean that Week 1's definitely alarming. I've seen way too much over his tenure of going into big games and it's seeming like they're not fully prepared and fully ready. Going into I'm not going to use preseason as a big justification here, but to come out with rust and you opted to just completely not play any of your starters, any of them, not even just Rodgers. I understand Rodgers. If you wanted to say, okay, let's just get into the regular season, let's roll. But no defensive starters played. Those fringe second-tier, second-string defensive players, none of them played the preseason. And to come out flat like that, it's a little alarming. And again, the way that we lost defensively, just not being able to stop the 49ers at all, when he's a defensive-minded coach, it's a little alarming. It's also Week 1. None of us know what's going to happen here. If it continues, if this defense continues to struggle this week, obviously, and going forward, then obviously those red flags will be a little bit more kind of prominent. But let's be real. This is an all-in year for the Jets, and it's all in for the coaches, the general manager. It's everybody. So everyone's on the hot seat this year. So time to start getting some wins, and it's up to Saleh to really turn this thing around.
For sure.
Real quick before you go, Zach, with the chats, because today Zach's hosting, but he's on my platform today because he's trying to set up on his end, but I'm trying to work the chat with him, so I'll always put you guys' chats up, for us to read, and Zach will obviously try to do his best to get to them as well. So just a heads up, we may not get to all of them, but we'll always put them on the screen here, so we see them. Go ahead, Zach.
All right, so again, continuing with this Dolphins game, or I guess going back to it, we took a small detour to talk Robert Saleh, but Ben, what were you thinking about that Dolphins game? Any questions, and what did you see?
Yeah, you guys kind of mentioned it. I was really impressed with the rookie Brian Thomas just finding his way, getting open off. He did really, really well against press coverage, finding those soft spots in zone. It's kind of hard to talk about the Dolphins and not mention what we just saw, but I'm sure later on the show we will get to that. But it's a good Dolphins team, and it's almost like they've gotten, much better over the offseason. And Captain D, I guess, my question to you is, how can you make sure now that the Dolphins guys remain focused at the task ahead?
Oh, that's that. You know, that's a loaded question, and it's going to take the next couple. I would say the next couple months, maybe 2 to 3 months, to see what direction this team is going. I think it's better. I think I'm going to touch on that a little bit later because, this organization with the Miami Dolphins, there's a lot of big decisions that need to be made moving forward. We've just made huge decisions as far as contracts and paying out certain players. You touched on Brian Thomas in the Jaguars game. You know, he looks like he's going to be a very talented player for the. You know, he has a very promising future in the NFL. We just made Jalen Ramsey the highest paid cornerback in NFL history. These are decisions that the Miami Dolphins as an organization has made. And, granted, Jalen has said that prior to that game that he was suffering from a hamstring injury, but, he was having an issue covering Brian Thomas. So we'll touch on that later on. There's a lot of decisions in the next coming weeks, months that are going to have to be made.
Captain, I got a question for you. Again, just with that week 1 game, in your opinion, what is more significant? The concern that the Miami Dolphins almost lost somewhat badly to the Jacksonville Jaguars, or the optimism that they were able to come back and win the game towards the end?
I think the optimism. We showed that what we needed, and I always say this because I've been through the 1-15 seasons and seen where we lose those tight, close games, and it's just like, man, the better teams always say that the better teams find a way to win, and I did feel that game. We found a way to win, and Jacksonville, kind of history repeated itself last year. It was kind of the same scenario. They were always that team. They started off 5-0, and then they just faltered. Trevor Lawrence was injured for some portion of that season, but we found a way to figure it out. Javon Holland, like I said earlier, with the punch out, we hit Tua. Jeff Wilson coming in with some nice hard running at the end, but we felt optimistic as fans because we figured out a way. Jason Sanders missed a field goal earlier in the game and then comes back and hits the game winner. So you have to feel optimistic. It was a close game, and if you really followed both teams, you had to understand that Jacksonville is not a slouch. It's not a walkover. They're a tough team. They are definitely a tough team that has a lot of talent on there.
For sure. Does anybody else have anything with the Miami Dolphins?
I would say, like I said going into that game, I picked the Dolphins. I thought the Dolphins would, and I said it. I thought the Dolphins would. It would be close up until that late third quarter, and I thought the Dolphins would just have too much talent and eventually take the lead and keep the lead. And that's kind of what happened. I didn't expect Jacksonville to pretty much shut them out the first half, though. I didn't see that coming. Weird start for the Dolphins, and then we'll get into week 2 obviously soon for the Dolphins because it was kind of the same thing in a way. And it's almost like seeing the first 2 weeks at least, and obviously we'll get into week 2 soon, but it almost seems like our defense is starting to know or understand what the Dolphins are planning to do and starting to game plan a little bit different and better. And I told you that the way to beat the Dolphins is physical up front, get to Tua, rattle him, throw their timing off. And I kind of felt like they did that in the first half, but it's tough. Once again, Jacksonville's offense failed them. And it was a good play. You also can't discredit defense, right? You also the defense plays a part too. So Etienne should have scored that touchdown, but it was a good defensive play. So I can't take that away from the Miami Dolphins. It was a hell of a play. But if he scores that touchdown, maybe we're talking different here today, right, about that week 1, because then they would have been about 24-7, I think, at that point or something like that. It would have been a marginal, it would have been a decent sized lead, and I think it was late in that game. So it was a huge turnaround, and when that stuff happens, it's a momentum swing. And that's what Miami needed in that game, and that's what they got from that fumble. So it was a momentum swing at home, which always helps, and the Miami Dolphins pulled it off. But I still think – I thought after that game ended, it was week one jitters. Not jitters, but week one rust. Just kind of like a lot of teams don't come out swinging week one right away. But, man, I don't know. After week two for the Dolphins in that offense, I kind of feel like defensive coordinators are starting to understand how you beat them, or at least slow them down to give your team a chance. That's how I saw that game. But I did think the Dolphins were going to win, and they did. So I was right on my prediction, at least on that.
All right. Well, let's move on to the most unexpected win of week one.
Damn you, Patriots.
The win that only I predicted. I was considering making a new intro just to put in this show where it was a compilation of all of you guys picking the Bengals. And all of you guys picking the Bengals to win by like 20, by the way. I want to throw that out there too. But anyways, the New England Patriots are back for now, until they probably lose in like a week or two. But the New England Patriots are back, 1-0. I'm gonna start it out. Loved what I saw at both sides of the ball. Ramondre Stevenson is just an absolute animal. The Bengals could not tackle him at all. We saw on that last drive, when everybody is tired, everyone has already played a full game pretty much. There's only like a minute or two left in regulation. And Ramondre Stevenson took him to the hill. Final few plays, being able to just bounce off of contact and carry defenders for 5, 7, 8 extra yards, getting a first down, winning the game. Pats beating the Bengals was cool. I agree. Anyways, getting extra yards and winning that game for the Patriots, just incredible job by Stevenson. O-line looked better than I would have expected. Jacoby Brissett was able to get out of the pocket and extend plays more than probably anybody ever expected Jacoby Brissett to do. Defensively, incredible. Kyle Duggar with 2 massive plays near the goal line. Cornerbacks all did their thing. Keon White, 3 sacks. Special team, huge improvement from last year. I don't want to go too deep into everything because I know I also have to leave some meat on the bone for Ben here. But what a game from the Patriots.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is Patriots football, right? And it's kind of been lacking the last few seasons. They started fast. Last year they had issues with that. They would get down 2 possessions, 3 possessions, in the first or second quarter. For me, like you said, it was running the football behind that line. They did a really, really good job creating those gaps in that inside zone, right? For Ramondre Stevenson to just go through. He just signed a huge contract over the summer for a running back who has produced, but not at the level of these top guys who got new contracts this summer. $17 million guaranteed for a third-year running back is a lot of money, and he proved that he deserved every bit of that on Sunday. Something that I was looking for was how competitive, right, that defense going to be against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Christian Gonzalez, second-year cornerback, right? That was only his 5th game. He got injured last year against the Cowboys. He played really, really well. And there was a bunch. I think the Patriots only had 2 missed tackles on defense, something like that. They tackled really, really well, which, you have to do against a team that has Jamar Chase. I want to open up kind of to you guys. What kind of you saw as the outside perspective? I probably watched that game 3 times already, so I know it inside and out, and kind of what you guys saw.
So I'll start first. So you know what, that game, and I will say this though, when we did our predictions last week, I did get on board with Zach in saying, yeah, I agree with him on Bengals starting off slow. They are slow starters. They do not get out the gate very good. Matter of fact, they get out the gate very bad, poorly. Like we could go back and like, okay, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets all started out the gate kind of slow, but we found our way throughout the game and turned it around. The Bengals throughout the last 2-3 seasons, like they're just bad, right? They make some very bad mistakes. But I still thought if Jamar Chase played that they would win. I just did not see that happening. I really didn't. But I will say this. That game reminded me so much of a Bill Belichick type of game. Like the defense, right, is on top of their game. They're coming to play. And the quarterback, Brissett did just enough. But it was all about that tight end and that running back. Like, that's really what you did. You ran the ball. You play physical. It was old school type football. And just like Belichick, at least your new coach here seemed to get your players to, play a little bit better than what they should, at least against the opponent. So kudos to the Patriots. I'll give them credit. I don't know how long that'll last, though. That's the one thing. Like, I don't think you can win a lot of games with Jacoby Brissett. Like, you're going to eventually need to rely on Jacoby Brissett. I guess that's where I'm going. Like, eventually, I'm just saying there will be games that Stevenson is shut down, that they will go, okay, a defense corner will go, okay, you know what? Let's force them to throw the – let's force them to throw the ball, right? And let's stop – let's go to the box heavy – and just stop that run and let Jacoby Brissett beat us. That is when it's going to get interesting to me, and that's when you'll know really where you stand. But I just don't see it, man. I don't mind Brissett as a backup, but he's your starter, right? So we'll see how long that lasts for. But I'll give you credit. And yeah, Stevenson is, and I would say this: Stevenson's a really good running back. I said it last year. I thought he should have. I thought he should have had more carries last year, in my opinion. But it looks like they're going to lean heavy on the run and that typical Bill Belichick type of offense, which is run, smash mouth, get to the tight end. That's how I see this offense, at least for now, until you guys figure out your quarterback. I know you got a rookie, but maybe when he eventually gets going or gets in, maybe that changes up a little bit, maybe year 2. For him, but right now I think this year you guys are going to be smash mouth, play teams tough, physical, and maybe get a lucky win here and there. And it's not shade to your team; it's just you are on a rebuild with an older, aging veteran quarterback right now. That's how I saw it.
Captain?
Smart. Good organization. The Mac Jones experiment did not work. You cut ties. What do? You draft Drake May. Let's groom him. Let's see where that's going to go. But in the trenches, tough defense, good offensive line. Yes, it's not sexy, exciting, but I like where this is going. Gerard Mayo, he was, all-time Patriot, I guess you could say. You bring him in as a head coach, but I like the direction where the Patriots are going again. It's not working out with Jones. You cut ties. You draft a quarterback. You're looking for that franchise quarterback. I was surprised. I thought the Bengals were going to come out and really try and show that they're back. But the Patriots, hats off to you.
Patriots are more back. Even more back. Anthony, what about you?
Yeah, I think we all touched on it pretty much for the most part, but big shocker by the Bengals. I mean, coming out of week 1, they've only done it the past few years, killing people in survivor pools year in and year out with just flat play to come out of the gates. And it was no different this year. And Tommy, you touched on it. Just a quintessential how Bill Belichick kind of operated his team is Gerard Mayo's kind of looking that forward. He's coming out here and said, okay, this offense is not going to win the game for us. I just don't want them to lose it for us either, because obviously the Bengals don't want it as much as we do. Similar play in this game as in the Dolphins game. Fumble at the goal line, pretty much. I think it was Kyle Duggar. Zach, maybe you correct me on that one.
It was
forcing the fumble at the goal line. Plays like that win games, and that's exactly what the Patriots need in that particular moment. touchdown right there. Obviously, maybe the Bengals turn this thing around, but at that point, I think it was just they were just flat. They just were not themselves. Joe Burrow, obviously, a little bit of rust. Missed the end of the year last year with his injuries, and then it just leads into week 1 as it always does for them.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions about the best team in the AFC East, or are we good?
That is good. That is good.
That's funny.
Sorry, Zach. Oh man. Oh, by the way, we Jose, my buddy, man. Hey, real quick too, I want to say something before we move on, Zach. We were having mad issues with the streaming service we use to go live with the chats. We couldn't see the chats over the last 2 days. Today seems to be better. The chats are coming through. So if it happens, I apologize. But right now that it's working. So yeah, Jose, man, we didn't mean to miss the chats yesterday. It's the streaming service has been clunky, bro. So yeah, Jose, he is a member of Mafia Sports Report. By the way, if anyone wants to become a member of the Mafia Sports Report, it's $4.99, $5 a month, and you have, I do weekly videos for members only. So yeah, help us out. Plus, it's helping the channel grow. So thank you so much, Jose. Appreciate you, bro. All right, go ahead, man.
All right, well, speaking of the Mafia, let's move on to them. Tommy, give your insight on that Bills Week 1 win.
It was a slow start. Week 1, it was we were down quick, 17-3. It was like, oh man, but I never really was worried because I know my team. I knew being, one, we're at home, so we had that home crowd advantage going on, and two, it's kind of like. The Jags, right? The Cardinals. They're a sneaky team, but you should be able to pull it out and figure your way out, right? And we did a lot of adjustments at halftime, and you saw it was like night and day, right? First half to second half. And Kyler Murray was like just calm and cool in the first half and wasn't touched, and we just really didn't have an answer early on. But when you have a good defensive-minded head coach, Sean McDermott, and you have a defensive coordinator in Bobby Babich that obviously work together very well. Adjustments are made, and you saw the results, right? We started getting to Murray a lot more in the second half, putting pressure on him, getting sacks, a strip sack, fumble, right? So it really turned, and once that started turning, the defense held them to 3 points in the second half. If it wasn't for the special team blunder on the kick return, the defense did phenomenal, right? Gregory Rousseau, 3 sacks. Ed Oliver picked up a sack, which was good to see. Our DBs are really playing at a high level. I was proud of DeMar Hamlin. Like, they all stepped up in the second half. First half, like I said, a little sloppy. I thought our offense actually was fine. It just we had those week 1 stupid penalties, and Josh, had that one fumble, and you know what? He didn't have anything else after that bad happened. Like, he learned from it. Can't hold that ball that long. Every quarterback has that clock in his head, right? When to get rid of it or take off. And I felt like he just was, trying and trying. He was waiting for somebody to get open. He actually had somebody open. But listen, quarterbacks make mistakes. It happens. It's how you bounce back from them. And I thought he responded very well. And the offense was exactly what I told you guys it was going to be. Joe Brady wants his offense to run a certain way, and that is for everybody to eat, right? So if you think Dalton Kincaid's going to be the guy, it may not be. It might be Khalil Shakir. Everyone is going to eat. And, bro, I think everybody had a reception on offense. Everybody. So it was good to see that at least, I love when coaches tell you what they're going to do and actually do it. Like, I can't stand when, a new head coach comes like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then they never do it, right? They do the opposite. So at least Joe Brady so far has kept his word on this offense, what we're going to look like. Really, running the ball a lot more than what we did in previous coordinators. Like, we're doing a lot of things differently. And you saw that, and it works. So I love it, man. And we should have had, like I said, probably 40 points if it wasn't for the blunders early on. But I'm good with it, man. It was a close win. It shouldn't have been close, but a dub is a dub, man. You take it. Winning in the NFL is not easy. Doesn't matter who you play. So I'll take that dub, man.
All right, Captain D.
I was a little surprised by how much Arizona was able to, how much offense they were able to, produce. I was expecting the Buffalo defense to really keep the Arizona offense at bay, but it was a little surprising the first half. If you really looked at the game, they needed Josh Allen to play Superman. I mean, some of the plays that he was making was just, ridiculous. I was surprised by that. But it's week one, a little surprised, like I said, about with the Buffalo defense. But they pulled it out.
Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game where, look at the scoreboard. Obviously, Cardinals got up to a big lead, but it wasn't one that I was kind of, I looked at the Dolphins game as more of a possibility of an upset. I figured at some point the Bills would turn it around, get pressure on Murray. I mean, it was too easy those first few drives for Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. You just knew McDermott would kind of make those adjustments and figure it out for them. And as you mentioned, Rousseau, big plays down the stretch. Big kick return for forward Jet Codrington. I don't know.
Yeah, I was happy. Thank you, Anthony. We appreciate that guy.
I still don't understand why, if they traded him to the Bills. But anyway,
we'll take him. We'll take him off your hands. Thank you.
Big kick return there, and then just Josh Allen just turned into Josh Allen time. At some point, he's like, all right, we can't fool around anymore. We let them believe that they had a shot. Let's turn this around, and that's exactly what he did. Big game from him. Couple of touchdowns and a rushing touchdown too. Or I think they have 2 rushing touchdowns, I believe, in this game.
I believe he had 4 total touchdowns. He had 2. Two on the ground and 2 on the air.
Huge game for him. Just a typical Josh Allen type of stat line. Big yards, big touchdowns, all over the ways. So, and then gotta give a little props to Keon Coleman, a player that probably a lot of people just from what you're hearing from him, just slipping in the draft. Oh, maybe he's just not good enough, but big play on the sideline. That kind of got you guys near the red zone. I think he has a lot of ability. I liked him a lot coming out of the draft. I was surprised, honestly, he slipped to the second round for you guys, and of course he went to you. But big play from him, getting you guys rolling. And I know you didn't have as good of a game the second week, but he's a rookie, made the plays he needed to make in that first game.
Yeah. So to touch on the Keon Coleman thing, I think Keon Coleman, man, look, man, I had the Bills taking him. That's the guy I wanted coming out of the draft, to be honest with you. I did a video way before the draft. The Bills should draft Keon Coleman, and they did, and I was happy with that. But I will say this to a lot of people, man. I think Keon Coleman's one of those guys going to take. I think it's going to take a little bit, not like to get massive stats. I just think how do I put it? I think by year 2, year 3, we can look back and go, that was a great pick. I think year 1, I don't think his numbers are going to be so anything special where we're going to be but I don't want people thinking he's a bust either, right? He's one of those guys, and especially right now with the way the offense is moving, or the way that Joe Brady has this offense going. There's not a true number one right now. And if there is, it's honestly Khalil Shakir. So Keon Coleman's probably not going to have this unbelievable rookie year. And like every rookie, I think the game is a little fast for him at first. And they always say that sometimes, and then eventually it slows down for him and they kind of get it a little bit more and more. It becomes easier for him. So I think that's going to be the case for Keon Coleman. He's going to have weeks, some games where he looks really good. And then some weeks were like against the Dolphins where he doesn't get anything. So, I would just, tell Bills Mafia and just people in general to just I would just kind of calm down on him right now. Like, I wouldn't get too upset if he doesn't have this fantastic year like a Brian Thomas or a Marvin Harrison Jr. will. But because those guys are number ones, they're the guys on the team, right? Keon Coleman's not the number one, right? So, but he could be in the future. It's just one of those players you got to take your time and look back, and we'll look back 2-3 years and go, okay, he was either a good draft pick or was a bad. I think it will be a good, but time will tell.
I think it's the type of player you look at and say, can he be Gabe Davis for now? And if he can do that,
I don't think he could be Gabe. I don't think he could be Gabe Davis' first year. And Gabe Davis wasn't really Gabe Davis' first. Gabe Davis took a couple years, right? It really took after that Chiefs game to actually become the number 2, if you really think about it, because he wasn't even number 2 for a couple years. And then Gabe Davis started getting those. I think he had back-to-back 850, and which is fine. You know what I mean? But I don't even think you'll see Keon Coleman get. I think, like I predicted in the beginning of the season, I think Keon Coleman's around that 600 yards range for the season, which I'm good with. Like, I am. I'm totally fine with it because we don't really need him to be the guy right away. So I think it was a good pick for Allen, especially because he needed that bigger target. You saw in week 1 what he could do, right? Like the boxing out, right? That's the basketball, in him to get that ball, the 50-50. That's what he did in college, and that's what Allen. That's why I think Allen really wanted him for the most part, because we never really had, since Allen was drafted, a bigger receiver like that. We've always had small receivers where Allen really couldn't throw up that 50-50 ball, and a guy could come down to it. So Keon Coleman will be that guy. So.
All right, Ben.
For me, it's looking what they would do without Stephon Diggs, right? That was the big story, and they handled it really well. That offense went through James Cook, someone who wasn't and hasn't been as evolved in the offensive game plan. In the last 2 years, they gave him a lot to do, and he excelled. And it's also really interesting to see the Bills are 18-3 in the last 21 games. They have been losing, like, as much as I hate to say it, like, the facts. They're 18-3. Just got rid of arguably productive offensive player besides Allen, and they were playing Arizona. Of course, they were slated to win. They were pretty big favorites going in, but they still produced. They didn't come out like the Bengals did, and for me right now, it's how are you going to improve? How are you going to get off to a faster start? Make sure that the games against lesser opponents aren't so as close as they're supposed to be.
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to real quick. I was really hoping we'd see a Hail Murray 2.0 this time tomorrow. Really wanted it. That was
I know you did.
At the top of my wish list. But
sorry, bud.
It was Fail Murray this time.
Yeah, Fail Murray, yeah.
But yeah, just good work by the Bills. I think the Cardinals are a much better team than most people are giving them credit for. And to go out there, handle adversity, and come out with the win, you can't complain. Well, I guess I can complain as a Patriots fan. But as a Bills fan, you all listening, and Tommy, I'm sure you can't complain. That has got to feel good coming out of week 1 with a tough-fought win.
Yeah.
And if we all good with that game, the Bills Cardinals, let's move on to another Bills game, another Bills win. Bills versus Dolphins. Recapping that Thursday night football game. Tommy, you can start it out again.
Better luck next time, loser.
Listen, man, that was a. I thought that game was going to be closer, obviously, than what it was. Here's one thing, man. I hate how the national media now is all of a sudden, the Dolphins, see, this is their true colors, but they weren't saying that going into the game. They weren't saying that in the offseason. It was the Dolphins and the Jets. We're going to win the East. The Dolphins are all the speed. Listen, Their offense is good. I like McDaniel is a hell of is a really smart offensive-minded head coach. There's no doubt about it. You can't take that away from him. Tua is not a bad quarterback either. He's really not. My concern with Tua is exactly what I said. And I said it when we came on the first week, right? When we talked about his contract, right? Captain D, I told you. My main concern with the contract situation, if I'm the GM, if I'm the fan base, was what? What'd I tell you? Injury, right? Concussion. That would be my number one concern with him, like if I'm paying that guy, right? It's not really about his play on the field. The only knock on him, I would say, other than the concussions, that I was a little concerned, yes, when games get tight, sometimes he makes some critical errors. Like, I get that part. But other than that, he's a pretty good quarterback, and he fits that system. He fits McDaniel's system. So, yeah, man, I just figured this game, I thought it would be a little bit closer than what it was, obviously, because of the speed, because of Tyreek Hill, because of Jalen Waddle, because of that offense is crafty. And, bro, we're missing a lot of people on defense. So I figured the Dolphins would at least do a better job offensively, considering we're missing our linebacker. And then Bernard went out early as hell. Then we're down to 2 backup linebackers. It's tough, but injuries happen. I get it, and that's why we don't do excuses. But I would say, the Dolphins had the advantage at that point. I think when Bernard went out, especially, and I felt like the Dolphins were actually doing a good job with getting to the outside early on. We could not get out to the edge. The Dolphins were doing a really, really good job getting to the edge. We had no answer, but then we eventually got to that. We figured it out. And then we got to Tua. We threw the timing off. I told you the way to beat the Dolphins, right? You got to play physical. You got to play physical with the receivers. Throw their timing off. Tua did make some mistakes. I didn't think the first pass was necessarily the first interception was his fault. It was, if it did hit the player, you got to make the catch regardless. But it was just a good play defensively too. The second one interception, he way overthrew it. I have no idea what he was doing there, and that could have been on the receiver who stopped. I'm not sure there. Like that's something I'm sure. Behind closed doors are saying somebody made that mistake there, and I think it was the receiver who gave up on the play. I could be wrong because he way overthrew it. The third interception was just terrible. You can't do that. I get he's trying to throw the ball out of bounds, but dude, you're guys draped all over you. Just take the sack. You're really risking it there, and you saw the end results. Pick 6 to the house. That's on Tua. You can't do that. But yeah, and by the way, on that, Captain D, I don't know if you agree with me on that one, on this play, but it seemed to me, if you go back to that play, that interception for the touchdown, it looked like Tua hit his head on that play. It looked like he hit the ground kind of hard. And then the next series is when he goes out and gets hit. Like, I'm just throwing that out there. He could have been slightly concussed from that hit. But I'm just throwing that out there. But as far as the Bills' offense goes, it was exactly how it went week 1, except for the mistakes. We didn't have the mistakes. It was clean football, right? There was no turnovers. Josh played clean. He didn't have to do too much. James Cook ran the ball really, really well. The Dolphins really didn't have an answer for our offensive line, who opened up massive holes. And everybody did their part on offense. Everybody. Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid made some good catches. And that's how the offense looked week 1. We didn't do anything. If you look at the game, we didn't do anything unbelievable on offense. We were just efficient. Very efficient. Didn't ask Josh to do a lot. Josh ran the ball one time, slid 3 yards. So it wasn't your normal like Josh Allen game either. He didn't have to be Superman out there. Everybody did their part. And the defense really shined. So that's how I saw that game. I didn't think the game would be a 31-10 game. And I got to be honest with you, like the second half, we really kind of just were in cruise control. We didn't do much offensively. We just ran very basic, run. But I think because we didn't have to, right? They didn't want to risk Josh Allen getting hurt. The defense was doing their job. And once again, Von Miller with another sack was good to see. Von Miller's looking really, really good too, I got to say. Like you're starting to see that Von Miller of when we first got him in 2022. You're starting to see that Von Miller. But everybody else, I thought our corners did a really good job. against Hill and Waddle as well. They didn't do much. And that's it. I just thought, well coached. And yeah, we got the dub.
All right, Captain D, let's hear it from your perspective.
Well, real quick, as what Tommy mentioned in the beginning about the national media on, having the Dolphins and maybe the Jets as the favorites, to win the AFC East. If you look at the moves that Buffalo made, you lose Stephon Diggs, you lose Gabe Davis, Matt Milano is hurt again. Everybody was kind of waiting to see what this Buffalo team was going to look like. And even game one, it was shaky. We can sit here and say, hey, the Dolphins, what was going on game one, it's the Jags. You could easily turn around and say the same thing about the Buffalo Bills game one against the Arizona Cardinals. That game was close. Josh Allen had to pull some shit out of his ass to make that game for a Buffalo win. So going into this game, I wasn't really looking for I was looking for a gauge to see what this team, how we're gonna, compare to Buffalo at home. It was a home game, and ultimately it was a catastrophic. It was really bad. You know what I mean, for this organization. The moves that they made in the offseason, and everything kind of just fell apart right in front of our face as Dolphins fans. So it's unfortunate. What happened during the game. There's a lot of questions if you really follow this team as far as where the direction is, the moves that we've made going forward. And there's going to be a lot of, questions that will be answered in the next couple months, like I said.
For sure. And Anthony, again, huge game. Dolphins Bills.
I think this came out as a big shock for everyone. I mean, Dolphins just coming out completely, befuddled by the Bills. I mean, I know it was 7-7 at one point. Obviously, I was airborne, so didn't get to watch the whole game from start to finish. But it's been on NFL Network replay basically the past couple of days, so I've seen it different ways here. And basically, in a nutshell, what the Buffalo Bills did this week is, for anybody who believed that the Bills aren't still the top team in the AFC East, Bills went out there and proved that they still are until proven otherwise. Someone has to step up in order to take that crown from them. 2-0 is a great way to start the season for them, and these wins. Josh Allen keeps doing exactly what needs to be done. This last game wasn't a stat line, draw for him, but James Cook had an outstanding game overall. 3 total touchdowns. In this game, they just do what's necessary. Got behind the run in this game and really kind of, similar situation to what Jets saw in week one against the 49ers. Bills did exactly that to the Miami Dolphins in this second week. So big win from them and contain that Dolphins offense down to 10 points. Those interceptions by Tua were just kind of, like you said, the first one wasn't necessarily his fault, but that third one reminded me of exactly the stupid play that the national media went completely berserk on, that Will Levis made in week one against the Bears. And it's just plays that you don't make, not for a quarterback in his fifth year now after that huge contract. And obviously, the injury at the end of the game is something obviously we all need to keep an eye on and hope for the best for Tua on all that.
Absolutely. Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to repeat what I just heard here, but I completely agree. And I think that these types of games as are really fun to watch as a Patriots fan, because it's a division game. You got the Jets, you got the Bills, and you got the Dolphins, and it was really entertaining to watch because as a Patriots fan, as a Patriots reporter, this game is almost as important as a regular Patriots game. So I don't want to, echo what y'all just said. But I feel like, man, the Dolphins, they definitely have a tough road ahead, and I bet Captain D will get to that soon.
Yep.
And Ben, I'm going to piggyback off of that real quick. As a Patriots fan, it's fun to watch it knowing that one team has to lose. Love that. Whether it's the Bills or the Dolphins, I'm preying on that downfall. So, but I guess, well, maybe I shouldn't be saying that with how the game ended, but just a rough game from the Dolphins, and obviously hate to see what happened to Tua. It's horrible, and I'm hoping that everything is going to be all right there, both on and off the field. As much crap as I'll give him sometimes, I'll be the first to say it. I am hoping that he is going to make a full recovery, again, as a football player and as a person. And Anthony, just real quick, score prediction for your, because I know you have to leave a little bit early, score prediction for this week's New York Jets game.
So I'm hoping, and I'm predicting here that the Jets are going to right the ship here, get things corrected in the run game, defensive run game that is, and go into Tennessee and get this victory. I've been downtown here in Nashville. Jet fans are super pumped here, and the streets are loaded with Jet fans. So it's going to be an exciting environment overall for being on the road. But I do have the Jets win this game. Got to see what this offense looks like, but I'm going to go with 24-17 here. I think it stays close. I don't think Tennessee's a washover like some people might think, but I think the Jets keep it close with Tennessee. And eventually the Jets get the victory in this one.
All right. Hey, Anthony, man, we appreciate you. By the way, Anthony's bouncing out now. He is there in Tennessee to go see the game. So, man, that's pretty. Hey, Tennessee is beautiful, man. So enjoy it.
It's beautiful out here.
It is really nice, bro. So enjoy it, man. We appreciate you. And Anthony obviously will be back next week. He's just having fun, guys. So let him go. Let him go. All right, Anthony.
I appreciate it.
Later, brother.
Yeah, Anthony. All right, well, let's continue on now and I guess shift a little bit. After going through all of the game recaps from Week 1 and the Bills and Dolphins Week 2 Thursday night game, let's go on to the awards ceremony for the show.
Awards.
Gonna start it out with essentially the Best Player Award, Styling and Profiling.
Styling and profiling.
So we obviously can't fully go back to worst to first with the AFC East, so because Anthony had to go, but Captain, we'll start with you. Who do you have for the Dolphins as your styling and profiling?
I rough game to have a styling and profiling, but
so I guess sorry to interrupt you, Captain D. So I guess you're gonna have to do Week 1 and I guess Week 2's. This is a little different this time. So go ahead and start with Week 1 and then Week 2 because it's different this time. Yeah.
I'll go Week 1. You have to give it to Javon Holland. He made the play of punching out the football out of ETN, preventing this game from getting out of control. You have to give it to Javon Holland. Tyreek, he had a great catch and run for a touchdown, but I think you have to give it to Javon Holland. Week 2, like I said, there wasn't much to really go off of, but you have to give it to Devon Achane. He was dealing with an ankle injury coming into the game. They used him. Basically, that was most of our if not probably all of our offense was Devon Achane. He looked great. They ran him outside, inside. He really showed his grit. So shout out Devon Achane. I'm going to give him that.
Nice. And what about Week 2? Sorry. What about Week 2?
I was going to say, as a Devon Achane fantasy owner, I'm thrilled getting him with I think I had him with the 39th pick, and he was looking like a top 5 fantasy player. But anyways, Tommy, going to go over to you for your Week 1 and Week 2 Bills styling and profiling.
Who did you have on your Week 2, Captain D? Was it Achane?
I had Achane. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So for my games, Week 1, I'm gonna go with Greg Rousseau. 3 sacks. I mean, you got to, right? You got to go with Groot, right? 3 sacks, and he's from the U, all right? Which at least me and Captain D we're U fans, so we're cool with it when it comes to college football. But anyways, Groot Week 1 for sure. Had a really good monster game. And Week 2, I'm on the fence with this one. I wish I could do a duel because Jamarcus Ingram with the two interceptions, one to the house. But I'm gonna have to give it to James Cook. Got to, man. James Cook was electric in that game. Had that big run for 49 yards to the house. Had the receiving touchdown. He had 3 total touchdowns. You got to give it to James Cook because he really was the offense in that game, like at least the focal point of the offense. So, yeah, those are my 2 styling and profiling.
All right, Ben, Patriots, styling, profiling, week 1.
I'll go with someone who disrupted the entire defense, really. He is Keon White, second-year player for the Patriots, and he just penetrated right through the middle of the Bengals offensive line there. He did a fantastic job of just getting pressure into Burrow's face, finished with 2.5 sacks. He is someone who I will be looking forward to watch again this week against the Seahawks and Chiefs.
And I am going to go with Ramondre Stevenson, Keon White, and I would say Kyle Duggar as well. Kind of carried the Patriots defense, so I got to go on the other side of the ball. Ramondre Stevenson just had a heck of a game. I know I touched on it a little bit earlier in the game recap, but again, just incredible job by Stevenson, putting the team on his back offensively and carrying the Patriots to a win. Next up, gonna go to essentially the worst player award, the Boo This Man award.
Boo this man!
So, Tommy, we'll start off, or no, it's Captain D started it. We'll start off with you. Week 1 and week 2.
Yeah, I don't know where to start here. Week 1, what would I say? Boo this man. I could maybe say, you know what? Week 1, I'm gonna boo Tyreek Hill. Showing up now. I don't know if anybody here is. Maybe Tommy might, but when you're getting to the Rock is what they call it, Hard Rock Stadium. There is a road that when you're driving through. And people are crossing back and forth, either where you're parking or not. That's where he was pulled over. That's where Tyreek Hill was pulled over. Now, if you get pulled over and you got limo tint on your car, whatever car it might be, you should probably put your window down and keep your window down. Now, I just, it was a sham. It was just unfortunate the way how both parties handled the situation. But I have to boo Tyreek. And yes, he did score a touchdown, but the pre-stuff getting into the game, it was just idiotic to me. I don't get it. And I'm going to boo Tyreek for week 1.
Thank you very much! Finally, somebody's got a brain in here!
Week 2, man, I can't. Prior to injury, I think I have to boo Tua. Prior to injury, 3 interceptions that just looked horrible. And you know what? He can't take all the blame. I'm going to boo him for those even pre-injury. But there's a lot of questions with that. A lot of wide receivers out there that probably shouldn't have been out there. It's. I'm gonna say I'm gonna boo Tua for week 2. That's harsh, but I got to do it.
All right, Tommy, week 1, week 2.
Oh man, week 1 I'll go with O'Cyrus Torrence, who's my dude, by the way. I love O'Cyrus Torrence, but week 1 he had a costly penalty that cost us 7 points, a touchdown basically, and he had some bad penalties, and he looked a little rough on pass protection, but he got his act together in week 2. So, but you got to boo somebody in week 1, so I'll go ahead and boo him week 1. Week 2, man, there's not a lot to boo, so I'll go with Tyler Bass for missing an easy field goal. I hate leaving points off the boards, especially easy makeable field goals. And Bass is just not right, man. He hasn't been right. And I'm going to tell you, man, listen, we were up, way up. I didn't think the Dolphins would come back, but you never know. A turnover here, a fumble here, and before you know it, they're down 7 with 3 minutes left instead of being down 10. Every point matters in the NFL. Very important. You got to get your points. And, yeah, man. So there wasn't a lot to boo, and I know I'm being petty, but I have to choose somebody. It'll be Bass.
Yeah. All right. Ben?
Yeah, I don't really want to be petty, but, like, I don't know who to boo on the Patriots, really. I'm not
my.
I'm gonna like really, you beat a team, you went in, did a good job. The offense executed, defense shut down Joe Burrow. The special teams had a fumble recovery by the long snapper. Like really, like who do you boo on this team? I'm gonna leave it to Zach. We have one other Pats guy here, and maybe I'll echo whatever he says. So Zach,
This is by the way, it's a great point by my co-host. Says you boo all the Patriots, so just throwing it out.
Yeah. He just Anyways, I have mine as in. I don't really enjoy like crapping on players, honestly, but if I have to choose somebody, I would probably say Chuks Okorafor. Just got benched at the left tackle spot midway through the game, and now reportedly he was placed on the exempt/left squad list as we're starting the show, and is reportedly considering retirement. So I guess that would be who I'd have to choose, but really pretty much everybody on the Patriots did their job on Sunday. And again, as Ben said, like, I don't want to be petty, but nobody on the Patriots, in my opinion, other than maybe Okorafor, deserves to be booed because it was a great performance. All right. Okay, well, let's move on to, I guess, final topic of this segment. What's up with that?
I said, oh, love, what's up with that? I said, what's up with that? What's up with that? E.T. likes Reese's Pieces.
All right.
Captain D, we'll start out with you.
Oh, what's up with some of the national, I should say not national, but local media in Miami. One of the beat writers for the Miami Herald, I will not mention his name, but basically went on a rant about why the fans and NFL alumni were mentioning that Tua should retire. And he said last year he spoke to neurologists that said that this wouldn't be an issue going forward. And he was flabbergasted that everyone was calling for the retirement of Tua. How about we look at what, we know our bodies, you know what I mean? And if we're looking at what our bodies are doing when it's reacting to a tackle or a hit, football is a violent sport. It's a violent sport. And when your body is telling you that something's not right, it's time to shut it down. And I can tell you firsthand, I've mentioned this on the show before. Me and Tommy, we used to our choice of sport was basketball. I played sports my whole life, but our choice of sport was basketball. That's what we did. And I get it. That I love the competitiveness of sports. Played sports my whole life, but I suffered an injury. Knee injury, 3 years, 3 surgeries. I get it. But, and I would joke with Tommy about this and he would say, it's that time. You got to hang it up. That's it. But you have your life ahead of you. It's time to hang it up. I find it pisses me off when I get it. It's Tua's decision. But the fact that you're going to react that way when people are saying, hey, we're watching what your body's doing when you take a hard hit. And it doesn't look good. I mean, this can't be good for your future. I just find it appalling some of the remarks that were made about Tua. I really hope that he shuts it down. I think if he decides not to, the Dolphins should cut him. I really do. The Dolphins need to cut Tua, pay him the money we just signed him. If he retires, he won't get the money, but they need to cut him. Because we all saw what we saw. We've seen it before in Cincinnati. The other ones weren't as bad. The other one was against Buffalo a couple of years back with Matt Milano. But I think it's time. There's a time and place, and yeah, we can talk to doctors, and they can tell us, hey, you're good to go. But ultimately, what's your body telling you? So, judging for what I'm seeing, I'm not Tua. I don't know Tua, but judging from what I've seen, it's time. You got to shut it down.
So I want to just kind of go over some stuff real quick on that too, while we're on the Tua thing. Dating back, bro, from college, bro, injuries are just, it's not even concussion. I mean, and by the way, we're concussions. We're talking, these are the ones we know of. Guys, they don't always like report them. They don't, we don't know as high school or college concussions. Like, there's way more than 3 or 4 that they're saying. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not even concussion. He had a broken finger in 2018. He had a knee sprain in 2018. He had a quad injury in 2018. He had an ankle injury in 2018. High ankle sprain in 2019. Hip injury 2019. 2020 thumb injury when he went to the Dolphins. Rib fracture. The Dolphins fractured index finger. Back injury, which was concussion. Concussion. Listen, it sucks. It's sad for the guy. I feel for the guy. You put you work your whole life to get to this point, to be a professional athlete, right? You go through all that, right? High school, college, all the playbooks, everything. Like, I get it sucks, man. But at the end of the day, bro, some of these hits now that he's taking, they're not really that devastating. Like, I mean, really, if you go back and look at that hit last night, which wasn't really a hit, it was more on him. Wasn't that crazy? I mean, that happens a lot. And even the Matt Milano one, which was a shove, it really wasn't like that devastating. Just he hit his head off the ground. But I kind of feel like, man, just with Tua, maybe he's just not built for football. I hate to say that. And especially, bro, when you mess with your brain, bro, brain injuries are nothing to play around with. You can bounce back from an injury on the ribs and maybe even a knee, depending on how old you are, but brain injuries are nothing to play around with, bro. And it just seems to me like right now they could do whatever they want, right? He can go to all the jiu-jitsu classes he wants to learn how to fall properly, and he can. And by the way, he has a special helmet. Doesn't do anything. I hate to tell you guys that. Like, the dude just right now, bro. If he comes back, it'll be a huge mistake, not only for him, but I think the Dolphins as well. The NFL. Here it is, man. The NFL does not. There's no secret that there's concussions in the NFL, guys. Like, we all know this. That's never going to go away. I don't care what they do. Now, they can help it out a little bit, right? Like how they do the kickoff return. They can do a little bit of everything to kind of, not eliminate it, but help out with less concussions as much as they can. But those kind of concussions that you see on the field, what Tua's having, you don't see that often. And Tua's the one that's having them. And it's called fencing, right? That's what it's called, fencing, when you put your hands in the air, your fingers are going different ways. Roger Goodell was at that game, by the way, in Miami. Not something the NFL wants to see. It's not something they want to show out there, those type of concussions. So I know the NFL can't say tell Tua what to do, but I definitely think they will have. I think the NFL and the Dolphins will definitely have a talk. I think they definitely will have their opinion, and I think the Dolphins will probably have to take that opinion. We'll see what happens, but if I'm Tua and Tua's family, I think it's time, bro. It's time because you got your whole life ahead of you. You have money, right? Money is not an issue. You could step away now. And if we go back, look at Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck said, I'm done. That's it. I got a whole life ahead of me. And it wasn't even as bad as Tua's injury. So players do it. They do it a lot more than you think, especially lately. A lot of players are retiring from the NFL early because they understand. They get it. You can't, bro, the NFL, the average player is like 3 years. So, yeah, man. If I'm Tua, bro, I know it sucks for Dolphin fans because he just got paid and and he's not a terrible quarterback, but it's time to move on. And Tua has to make that decision. But anyways, yeah, moving forward. Go ahead, Zach.
Well, we also got your what's up with that if you want to.
Okay, mine.
Your what's up with that is Tua. I mean,
no, because that's just it's a sad, it's sad. By the way, Bills Mafia did donate a lot of money to his foundation. So shout out to Bills Mafia. We always try to do the right thing for people. So what's up with that? That is a good. You know what I'm going to say? And it's not even a bad thing. What's up with the refs? I think the refs have been pretty good through at least 1 week and one game. I got to say, of course, there's some flags here and there that I saw, at least in our games. But I didn't think nothing crazy. I thought in week one, they threw a flag for roughing the passer when Murray slid, and my God, even touched. Ingram totally did what he was supposed to do and avoided hitting him. They called a flag. They messed up there, and then they called one against them for hitting Josh Allen in the head, which was, once again, it wasn't egregious, right? But after that, they let the game play. Like, they could have called a petty foul at the end of that game when Murray threw the deep ball. Little bit of got maybe they could have called a pass interference, maybe, but it wasn't. I don't think it was warranted. And I feel like most of the time they would have called that. And I feel like this year, at least so far from what I'm seeing for the NFL refs, they're letting some plays go. They're not being so petty on the call. So I would say, what's up with that? Because I'm shocked. Because usually referees. We always talk about, damn, the refs, terrible job, terrible flags, cost us the game, and this year I think so far they're doing pretty good.
All right, Ben, what do you got?
What's up with that? I will keep it short and sweet. I've never seen a long snapper run 40 yards and recover a football on a punt.
Forced the fumble. He forced it.
Sorry. Forced the fumble.
Even more impressive.
Even more impressive. He forced the fumble. So that's my what's up with that. That was pretty fun to watch.
I'm gonna do mine because, in all honesty, I don't really have one specifically about the game, but I'm just gonna say, what's up with all the disrespect about the Patriots defense heading into that game? This is a defense that was elite last year, had multiple games in a row that the Patriots lost, even though they allowed 10 or less points. That's just how bad the offense was. And that is also while the offense was so bad that starting field position, time of possession, et cetera, was all heavily not in the defense's favor. This Patriots defense, you may look at it and say, oh, they lost Matthew Judon from last year. Matthew Judon only played the first 4 games. They didn't really lose him. They didn't have him last year. They didn't really gain anyone. They didn't have Christian Gonzalez last year. And besides, because he, again, injured after the first 4 games, so that's pretty much an addition of a top 10, top 5 defensive back, arguably. I know it's still early in his career, but he has locked down pretty much all of the best receivers in the NFL that he's been able to go up against. So this Patriots defense pretty much had no departures and looked incredible. That's all I got for my what's up with that is the disrespect heading into week 1 with that defense. But now, third and final segment, we had our recaps. We had our awards. Let's go on to some previews. And I guess real quick, we can just start it off with the Jets. I know we don't have Anthony here, but let's go around and start off with Captain D with score predictions for this upcoming Jets game against the Titans.
I'm going to give the edge to the Jets. I'm going to say this is probably going to be a low-scoring game, but Will Levis, what a horrible interception that was last game. I mean,
Yeah.
that was just god-awful. And you know what? I'm going to say the Jets defense finds its way, gets some turnovers on Will Levis. I'm going to say 20-10 Jets. Rodgers is going to find his way, find Garrett Wilson. Maybe Brees Hall breaks through. 20-10 Jets.
Yeah, Tommy.
Oh, this is tough, man. This is tough because I so want the Titans to win.
Oh man.
Okay, so it's in Tennessee. I don't think the Titans are terrible. They're not, and I think Will Levis is actually a good quarterback. It's his second year. He's going to make mistakes. And yeah, it was a terrible, terrible decision he made last week. No doubt about it. But that's your second year type of quarterback. He's going to make those mistakes. I'm not going to kill the guy over it. He did a good job last year when he came in. But what Jets team are we getting this week? I guess that's the question, right? Like, can they bounce back from last week? Because I thought their offense, like I said, I thought their offense started slow, picked it up towards the end, but still was an ugly game. They still got, and I get it was a 49ers team, without McCaffrey, but I still think that offensive line I get what Anthony was saying. This is a much lesser team than the 49ers, but you're still on the road. Tennessee has a good crowd. I'm going to say this game's closer than what people might think. So I'm going to go. I think the Jets win, unfortunately. So I'll go 27-23 Jets. 27-23 Jets. I think it's close. And I think it's probably the Jets. I think maybe like Tennessee has the ball last and the Jets get maybe an interception or a sack or something. They close the game out on defense with Tennessee driving maybe to go for the win. And that's how I see it. 27-23 Jets. I don't think it's a blowout.
Get another picture of Will Levis down on the ground after the interception. But Ben, let's hear your prediction for this Jets-Titans game.
Yeah. I don't usually do this, but I think this game right here is going to set the Jets season, honestly. I know it's week 2, but you have a short week coming up on Thursday Night Football. We all know those are always tough games against the Patriots. I think they come out this week, and I think they score 30 points. I think it's going to be a decisive win. I have the Jets beating the Titans 30-14. 30-14.
Yikes.
Now, I'm going to go on my prediction. I just don't think the Titans are that good of a football team. Had a pretty rough showing against the Bears last week. I guess defensively they were all right, but that's a demoralizing loss. So I'm going to say 24-13 Jets are going to win, unfortunately. And I think it'll be maybe even a little bit easier than that score might say. Now, moving on, we have no Dolphins game to preview. We have no Bills game to preview. So let's go to the Patriots. I'm going to start it off. Kenneth Walker is doubtful, I believe, for the game. Don't think he's been ruled out yet, but
He's not
essentially
going to play. I don't think
he's not going to play. So Patriots defense just needs to stop essentially that Seahawks passing offense. You got Christian Gonzalez to line up on DK Metcalf. You've got Jonathan Jones or Marcus Jones to line up on Tyler Lockett, and whoever out of Marcus Jones and Jonathan Jones doesn't line up on Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think the Patriots come out with another win, and if you had asked me this a week ago, I would have said probably that it was a loss or that it'll be a little bit closer, but that week 1 game gives me some confidence. I'm going to say 20-17 Patriots, but again, I don't think that'll really be necessarily as close as that says.
Well, I'll kind of start from where I was going to end. That was my score, 2017. But I'll kind of give my reasoning quick. I can't make that up. That was actually my score. I think, like you were saying, Marcus Jones would get Tyler Lockett. We'll have Jonathan Jones on the outside with Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think this game is going to be really close. I think it's going to be another mistake-free football game by the Patriots. You have Jacoby Brissett, the veteran quarterback. That's one thing that you really, really look for in a veteran. He doesn't make that many careless mistakes, right? He's been around the league a while. I think the Patriots, their game plan, I said it, run the football, run the football, run the football. I think they'll do a good job of running the football. And just looking ahead just a little bit, Patriots didn't get T. Higgins last week. Not going to get CMC in 2 weeks. I mean, a hard schedule is starting to look a little less hard with these injuries on the other opposing teams.
All right, Captain D.
I mean, if you had told me that the Patriots were going to beat the Bengals last week, I picked the Bengals. I would. It's crazy, but going into this week, for me to pick Seattle to win, I believe it's a home game for New England, right? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. But I'm going to do it again. Fuck it. I got the Seattle Seahawks beating the New England Patriots. I don't know why, but it's like, as long as Jacoby Brissett is at quarterback for the Patriots, and I get they're trying to run the football and they're going to play stout defense and do their thing, I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what it is. That's just a feeling I have.
What's your score?
I'll remember that.
What's your score? Zach.
So this is probably going to be a bore fest. It's probably going to be, I'm going to say 17-13 Seattle Seahawks.
It's a good score prediction, Captain T. Okay, so I'm gonna piggyback off that. I like that, Captain D. I think Seattle. I think this is a close game for sure. And by the way, you all had it close. Everybody. I mean, Zach, Ben. They just had a different victory, different outcome. So I think we all can agree it's going to be close. But I think Pete Carroll is probably the difference maker here. I think he's a veteran head coach going against a rookie head coach. I think that does matter, does play a difference. And I also think
them anymore.
Oh, not Pete Carroll. I'm sorry. Who's their coach now? Over in Seattle.
McDonald, I believe.
Oh, no, never mind. I take that back. Either way, I still got Seattle. I thought they had Pete Carroll. Where did Pete Carroll go? He's retired? See, I didn't even know that. Shit on me.
Some front office thing.
Oh, is he front office? Okay, so I didn't think he left. Is he still there? Okay.
I don't remember if he had ended
I don't know why I thought Pete Carroll was there still. Either way. I think, though, also, the quarterback, I think if you go quarterback for quarterback, I think they have a better quarterback. I'm not crazy on their quarterback though. I think Geno Smith's okay, right? I think he got a little bit hyped up, and probably a little bit overpaid. Though I do like him over Jacoby Brissett. I got to be honest with you. I also like DK. I like the receivers better. They match up, I think, a little bit better for you as far as offensive talent. I think they have better offensive talent, than the Patriots, right? So offensively, I think Seattle can do enough to win this game is where I'm going with it. I think that, like I said earlier, I think the Patriots are a ground and pound type of offense. That's what at least what they showed in week 1. They're doing the Belichick type offense. So I think Seattle will understand this. They will crowd the box. I don't think Stevenson will have what he had week 1. I'm not saying he'll have a bad game, but I don't think he'll have a dominating game because I think they're going to crowd that box and they're going to force Jacoby Brissett to throw. And I don't think Brissett is, like I said, he's a journeyman backup. He's okay, but he's older. I didn't like what I saw last year, and I'm like, he's okay. So I just don't know if he'll lead you guys to a victory. And I said this last week. I could be wrong. Hey, you Bengals did. You guys beat the Bengals, but I just think Seattle. We'll look at the film, understand what you're doing, stop the run. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I'll say 20-17 Seattle. I think it's close.
All right, so we have 3-20-17 score predictions.
Oh my God.
2 of them were for the Patriots. 1 of them was for the Seahawks. Love having Ben here, so I'm not the only one picking the Patriots. Anyways, I believe that will do it for the show. Thank you to everybody for listening. We'll be back live, same time, same day, next week for more recaps, more award ceremonies, and more previews. But until then, see you guys next time.
Appreciate you guys, man. Bills Mafia rule. Go Bills.
You lose it, you never win.
Oh, boy!
That stuff is.
Yes!